You'll find a Mets fan. Let's go. This is a Mets year for all your Mets here. Let's go. Bring it home. Bring it home. Bring it home
exciting, thrilling, awesome. Let's take a look.
What's up, Met fans? Welcome back to Talking Mets with Rob and the first game recap of the season. What's up, everybody? Hopefully, everybody has enjoyed the first two games of the series and of the season. We unfortunately had a rough go of it yesterday, but opening day was extremely fun. We will get into game one, we'll get into game two, and of course, the preview of game three. That is later on today, 4:10 for the first pitch. So we're going to get started in a second. Just want to make sure that everybody can hear me. The reception is good because the hotel Wi-Fi is That's why I'm doing this in the morning, so most people are sleeping. So the Wi-Fi is actually decent at the moment. So hopefully you guys can hear me, see me, and everything else that we get through a live stream for at least the hour of the show. So, obviously, I am in Miami right now. I went to opening day. It was great. There was tons of Met fans there. Of course, yesterday, a ton of Met fans there. It was absolutely a lot of fun. The Mets made it very interesting. Grant's driving to work. That's great. So, it's an experience. And I do have to say, I had the experience for the first time in Miami at Lone Depot Park with the roof closed on opening day and with the roof open yesterday. And they need to open the roof a lot more. I understand there's always scattered showers in Florida, so it rains at any moment and you just never know. And it was just beautiful. I posted pictures on the community page from opening day and yesterday, and you could see the difference of how much better the stadium looks when the roof is open, and that was a lot of fun. And yesterday, the Mets game yesterday, and we'll get into that first. I want to start with game one, but yesterday, the amount of defensive plays that were through the game, throughout the game yesterday was absolutely insane with the Marlins and the Mets. Like extremely good defensive plays. The pitching was awesome, and it was just insane how crazy it is. And it's important to realize, yes, it was a disappointing loss yesterday. Yes, the Mets could have got that one run at any moment, and unfortunately, Chisholm hit the home run late in the game, and the Mets lost by that one run anyway. But man, oh man, was it fun! Like the spectacular plays was just amazing, even in both games. But we're gonna start with the game one with Max Scherzer on the mound, with Alcantara on the mound. Cy Young Award winner against still one of the better pitchers in baseball, in Max Scherzer. And you see what Max Scherzer can do. Yes, he gave up that tying home run in the middle of the game. That was annoying, but you know what? It was still, you see how dominant Scherzer can be. And that's why it's so important to keep these guys healthy, especially, we know the whole situation with Verlander, with that whole teres minor injury, major, minor, whatever. The part, it's like under your armpit ligament or whatever it might be. But he's throwing. He should be okay. But let's get into game one. So game one, obviously, you all know that the seven-line army, it was talked about all over the place. The seven-line army, there was not just including the seven-line army, but the way it was pouring all day on Thursday. When the seven-line goes to an away outing, we're usually in a parking lot tailgating, which you guys seen the pictures. You've probably seen it on the news. And we had a decent amount of tents, but in the forecast, it didn't really look like there was going to be constant rain. Like you sort of scattered showers here and there, but it was basically a monsoon for the first couple of hours of the tailgate, right up until almost game time, that it was just pouring raining, and it was insane. We didn't get to march to the stadium like we normally do. We didn't get to take the group photo. And remember, it was supposed to be the biggest outing in seven-line history with 2,000 fans. Unfortunately, the weather didn't cooperate, but we made up for it in the game, in our seats. And if you were watching the game, which I'm assuming most of you did, or at least listened to the game, you know that Steve Cohen came into the section, put the outing T-shirt on, and hung out with Darren and took pictures with a lot of Mets fans. Listen, that was awesome because he did not have to do that. Like, he knew he was going to get bombarded with pictures and talking. It was a great time. Nobody got, crazy. Obviously a lot of people wanted their photos. I was about like 3 rows away. I'm not one of those people that start climbing over people to start taking a picture. Even if it is Steve Cohen, I got pictures from afar, and that's good enough for me. I'm not going to go crazy with that. I'm not one of those people that, need a picture, need an autograph. I'm not that type of crazy person. So that was cool. And that was in the early part of the game that he showed up. So, all right, Grant made it safe. That's the important part. And now he's got to make that bar money. That's the important part. And it's a Saturday. He got there early. He's going to set up and then get everybody in there for whatever they do on Saturdays in Houston if there's no game, because I know it's close to a Minute Maid. So, all right. So game one, Scherzer was looking sharp. The Mets were playing well. Let me just pull up the stat because, it was a lot of drinking on Thursday. I'm not even going to lie to you guys. But let me just check really quick. I got to make sure I got it down pat right. That's the most important thing. All right. So where am I? All right. Oh, look at that. All right. Perfect. All righty. There we go. All right. So the Mets won 5-3. The bullpen performed, right? The Mets got the first run of the ball game. We got a little summary, right? We'll go all the way down. First inning, second inning. All right, there we go. All right, scoring. So, in the top of the third was when Brandon Nimmo flies into a sacrifice double play. Left fielder Brian De La Cruz to catcher Jacob Stallings, to second baseman Luis Arias, to first base, blah, blah, blah. We know what happened there. Sac fly, Mets get on the board, 1-0 Mets, perfect. Then we get to the top of the sixth, And this is where it gets a little bit more interesting, right? Francisco Lindor out on the sacrifice fly to center field. Josh Chisholm to Brandon Nimmo scores. Starlin Marte to third, 2 outs. And then Jeff McNeil singles, makes it 3-0 Mets. All right, Mets are pumped. Fans are going crazy. Let's go Mets chants going all nuts. And then the Marlins come back in the bottom half. And Luis Arias, who is just going to be a pest all year. The guy's a great hitter. And, gets Jacob Stallings home, and boom, 3-1. All right, no problem. Now here comes Garrett Cooper. With a man on, Scherzer, you could tell that he's like wearing down a little bit, and he leaves the ball over the plate, and Garrett Cooper crushes one to right center, and boom, tie game. We're like, all right, we're all looking at each other like, all right, here we go. Damn it, here we go. We got to start this over again. But the next inning, Brandon Nimmo, who is one of the stars of the game on opening day, doubles on a sharp line drive. Escobar Navarez scores 2 runs, 5-3 Mets. Mets take the lead in the top of the 7th. And then we're like, all right, Scherzer's probably done after that 6th inning, with giving up the game tying home run. Scherzer's probably done. People were talking, oh, who are they going to bring in? Who are they going to bring in? Drew Smith gets the nod in the bottom of the 7th. Drew Smith struggles a little bit with control, but gets out of it, no problem. 7th inning done. Then we're like, all right, who's going to close here? Who's going to close? It's the 8th inning. Who are they going to bring in? Boom, Brooks Raley. Brooks Raley looks absolutely dominant. Made each of those hitters, those 3 hitters he faced, look like fools at the plate. Boom, 8th inning, no problem. And, of course, we all know the Diaz injury. And, people are like, is it going to be Ottavino? Is it going to be Robinson? And from where we were sitting, which is, on the right field side of the foul line, we were basically like a little closer to first base than we were to the right fielder, but it was actually close to right field. And you couldn't really see who was warming up in the bullpen. And, a lot of people were like, you start having conversations with people around you. And a lot of people are like, oh, it's got to be Ottavino. It should be Ottavino. It should be Ottavino. All of a sudden, here comes Robinson. We looked at each other like, all right, let's go. Let's get going. And Robinson looked good. Stars of the game for game 1, Brandon Nimmo and the pitching staff. The Scherzer, even though we gave up the 3 runs, he was still extremely good. And also the bullpen, which is the second star of the game, basically. Smith, Raley, and Robertson came out there, no problem. And boom, look at that. The bullpen, and this is why I'm not too concerned. And people, like I said, people complained so much yesterday about the offense, yet nobody said a peep about opening day when we scored 5 runs against one of the best pitchers in baseball. That's what I don't understand. Now, the Mets, I talked about this yesterday when I was at the game, which we'll get into a little bit with Jesus Luzardo. The Mets are going to have problems with left-handed pitching because of the fact that you got to change your lineup around for left-handed pitching. It weakens your lineup when you face a left-hander the way Buck, it looks like he's going to go about it. And then, end of game, Mets look good on opening day. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. First win of the season. Mets are 1-0. Going into the next game with David Peterson on the mound and Jesus Luzardo, we're like, all right, cool, no problem. We got this going. David Peterson looked great in spring. I think too many people take how they look in spring and think it's just going to translate into major league games. And what we seen yesterday was exactly why Peterson can be a hit or miss. Look, he didn't do bad, right? He did not do bad at all, right? I mean, it was the offense that was the important was the problem, right? So let's just go into today. There we go. All right. So we go into yesterday, and with David Peterson. All right. So David Peterson, he pitched 5 innings, I believe. Yes. Pitched 5 innings, 8 hits, 1 run, 5 strikeouts, and the home run, which was by Soler, that actually, gave the Marlins the lead in, I believe it was the second inning. So it was, like I said, he didn't pitch bad. He got his pitch count up, and I don't know if anybody saw it. And I was texting a couple. I don't remember who I was texting, but I was texting a couple of subscribers of the channel. I was texting Ken. I was texting Joe. I was texting a couple of other people, and I was talking to the people around me, even though I was surrounded by, I call them fake Marlins fans, because are they really Marlins fans? Like, every ball that went up in the air, they thought it was a home run, which was just annoys the hell out of me. And me, I'm not the type, like, I turned over to the people behind me, and they were like, and every time a Marlins hitter, even if it was a pop-up, you can tell that the ball wasn't going out. And this is not even my home ballpark to know how the ball flies when the roof is open or closed. It's obvious, especially where I was sitting. I was sitting right on the right side by the Mets bullpen, lined up perfectly with home plate. Every time there was a fly ball, they jumped up like it was a home run. And I turned over to the guy. I'm like, this is your home ballpark. How do you not know when these balls, like, I can see if it's like a nice hit ball and it's on a warning track and might be against the wall. All right, fine. You get a little excited. But there was balls that were probably about 275 feet, and they're going insane. And I'm like, you should know your home ballpark. But I'm like, oh, right. You probably only go to one game a year because you're a fake Marlins fan. Exactly what I said to them guys behind me. And I don't care, because you can tell when there's fake fans, and most of them are, right? It was a Friday afternoon going into a Friday night, so it was a perfect Friday night. After the game, people went out to drink. It was clearly what they do, because they don't go to games any other time. And if there was no Met fans there and they were playing the Cincinnati Reds, there would probably be about 25, almost 3,000, 2,000, 3,000 less Met fans there. So that's how embarrassing it is. So Peterson gives up that home run to Jorge Soler. And what I noticed the first two innings was that David Peterson was tipping his slider. He was slowing down his motion when he threw his slider. So, and that amazed me. That I don't know if the Marlins picked up on it or not. But Peterson was tipping his slider. He was slowing down his motion. I don't know if the Marlins picked up on it. I mean, if they did, they didn't do a good job of capitalizing on it. They only got that one run on him. So it was a problem, because I told Ken, I told a couple other people, Grant I was talking to also, I believe. There was a Brewers scout sitting next to me. Obviously, the Mets played the Brewers after this Marlins series, so he was scouting the Mets. And I didn't notice it at first, but then I looked over because I saw the guy had a notepad and he was writing down notes. So, I'm curious. You don't see that as people with fans unless you're doing a scorecard, and it wasn't a scorecard. And on the top of the booklet that he was writing in had Milwaukee Brewers on it. So, I was curious. I was like, hey, I'm like, you work for the Brewers? He goes, yeah, I'm a scout. Oh, cool. And then I asked him, I go, do you think Peterson is tipping his slider? And he shook his head yes. And then he pointed his pen at his notes. And in quotations, he says, Peterson tipping slider. That's exactly what he had in one line, in quotations. He had Peterson tipping slider. And that just confirmed it for me, because, sometimes you might think he's slowing it down, but he clearly was slowing down his motion, tipping his slider. So Peterson has to change that, because you face a better team, they will pound you to the ground. And Peterson would have been out of that game early if the Marlins either did it. I don't know if the Marlins noticed it. If they did, they did a terrible job trying to capitalize on it. So it is, yeah, it's at 4:10 today, guys. So with the Mets and with Peterson, Peterson threw 5 innings was kind of amazing, considering the fact that he was tipping his pitches. No, but you know what? You could see with the Marlins, though, they got a lot of veteran hitters in there, and like with Luis Arias, he makes the Marlins a better lineup because what he can do with the bat. The guy's bunting for hits. The guy just puts the bat on the ball. That's what he does. He's going to be annoying. This guy's a batting champion, right? He's going to fight it out with Jeff McNeil this year, even though Jeff McNeil hasn't really started off very well. But, that's Jeff McNeil will have his moments. And Jeff McNeil was not happy with the strike zone either. And I think a lot of Mets weren't happy with the strike zone. Again, I was on a bad angle, so it was very hard to see. It looked like a lot of strikes were like need a letter high, but I didn't know if they were inside or outside. It was easy to see it on TV. But Peterson's got to fix that. Now, I don't know if the Mets, I'm hoping the Mets realize it, because the Brewers scout next to me, and I noticed, and a couple of people I was talking to noticed it as well. It was very obvious from where I was sitting. And if the Marlins did not notice that, that is a bad job on them. And let's hope that the Mets, Buck Showalter, the pitching staff, the pitchers in the dugout noticed it, I hope. Hefner, I hope noticed it. I mean, that's his job, right, to figure that stuff out. I hope they figured that out. I don't know if they said it on the broadcast or not. With Ronnie and Hernandez, they might have noticed it right off the bat. I don't know if anybody said that. But he's got to fix that. But at the end of the day, he went 5 innings. Pitch count was a little high. He still has problems throwing strikes. When he pitched well when he got into jams, but he puts too many people on base. And that was the issue. He can't throw strikes, and he still had that problem. Peterson's biggest problem is not his stuff, because when he throws strikes, he's almost impossible to hit. And he started to nibble, and that's when you get into trouble. And that's when Peterson gets into trouble for his own self, even though he got through it with only 1 run, which is he's always good getting out of jams. He's got to throw strikes. You can't come out in the 5th inning, because yesterday – Scherzer went 6, Thursday, Scherzer went 6, no problem. I think Scherzer, that, like I told you guys, they're going to go easy with this rotation, and the bullpen's going to get a lot of use early on. So, that was just obvious, because the Mets used 3 pitchers yesterday. They used 2 pitchers yesterday. Let me see. Yeah, let's see. That's 6, 7, 8. Yes. So, they used 2 pitchers yesterday, which is not bad. Again, Tommy Hunter came in, Curtis came in, gave up the home run to Chisholm. But we're going to use a lot of bullpen early on, because they're not going to overextend these guys and push them unless they're actually cruising and their pitch count is extremely low. Like Tylor Megill today. I guarantee he's not going to go past 6 innings if he's pitching well. It's just the way it is. Ottavino hasn't come into the game. Clearly, the Mets are holding off on some of the guys in the bullpen for this series, because let's be honest, guys, we played 7 games in a row before we're off for the home opener next week. So, again, Peterson got to work on that. You can't tip your pitches. So, Mets are down 1-0. Mets can't get anything going. They had, I believe it was in the, let's see, I believe it was the first. Let's see. Let me get the wrap up. Let's see. I believe it was, I don't remember what inning it was, but all right. I believe it was the 3rd inning, maybe 4th inning. Let's see. Yeah, it was the 4th inning when the Mets had the bases loaded. And Pete Alonso came up and, grounded out to the pitcher to end the inning. That was basically our only hope of the ball game at that point. And, the Mets the Marlins pitcher was pretty good. And we know the Marlins pitching is pretty good. Now, Alcantara was a little off. First game of the season, the Mets went, and this is what the Mets did open the day against Alcantara that they did not do against Luzardo, was work the counts. In the first inning they did. After that, they were not working the counts and making this guy pitch. They took him out when the Mets had a little bit something going in the top of the 6th, but after that, it was basically done. So, it was kind of, unfortunately, the Mets hit a couple of balls that Jorge Soler made a hell of a nice catch. And what are you going to do with that, right? So, we have to look at it this way, right? We know the Marlins pitching is extremely good, right? The starting rotation is very good. The bullpen is pretty good. If you can control this team, like I said, they only scored, 2 runs yesterday? So it's not like the Mets were getting blown out. If the Mets are getting blown out, you got to worry about the pitching. But you don't have to worry about the pitching. I'm telling you, if this offense can score 3 or 4 runs a ball game, they're going to win games consistently. You know what I'm saying? And listen. I know people in the chat, and I see you guys. Sorry, guys. I almost fell off the chair here. And I'm not even drinking. I'm drinking coffee. See? Got the opening series koozie, which is always nice. I have too many koozies. But we all know that. Well, I don't think the Verlander injury is that worse. I know people keep on talking about the bats. And yes, I tend to agree with you, but the Mets scored 5 runs on opening day against the reigning Cy Young Award winner. Where was everybody talking about the offense then? Nobody talked about it. You can't have it. You can't have your cake and eat it too, guys. You can't not complain about Thursday and then complain about Friday. We know one thing with the Mets. They have problems hitting lefties. You see the lineup, the difference of that. Now, I don't think that Buck should have made all those changes. I like McNeil behind Alonso. He put Canna behind Alonso. He should have pinch hitted Vogelback earlier. Inning earlier. I thought that would have been better, even though the Mets got lucky with Chisholm misplaying the ball, not reading the ball, and it was basically a pop-up from Vogelback, and Vogelback got the second, and the Mets didn't score runs in that inning either. But you can't complain about 5 runs, not complain about the 5 runs that the Mets had a lot more opportunities in that ball game to score 7, 8 runs. But we're going to complain about yesterday. Those games happen, but we had opportunities. Even if it was very rare, we had opportunities. You got to remember, guys, look throughout the game. There was about 4 or 5 catchers, like amazing catches in that game that could have easily had the Mets score 3 or 4 runs easily. You know, Alonso early on in the game, if Soler doesn't make that catch, the Mets have 2 runs on the board. And a little later in the game, the Mets had an opportunity where, once again, Soler made another nice catch that could have brought in another run. So 3 or 4 runs could have easily been scored in that ball game if there wasn't a great catch that stopped those runs from scoring. So it's not like we weren't hitting the ball hard. There was about 4 or 5 balls that were hit extremely hard that could have changed the entire complexion of the game. This game would have been an easy walk and win. This would have easily been a 4-2 victory. But they made great catches. They played good defense for the most part. And the catches were amazing when they made those catches. So you can't really go crazy with that. So, yeah, they made the great plays. And, you know, you can't do anything about that, right? It happens. But if those balls drop, the Mets win the ball game 4-2. Maybe even 5-2. So you could have seen some points in the game that those catches weren't made. And they weren't easy catches. Those were catches that you had to be 100% perfect to make that catch. And Soler made 2 of them that probably saved 3 runs in those 2 catches in different innings. So you just can't do nothing about that. But at the end of the day, guys, you can't complain about yesterday. And nobody, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, nobody talked about opening day when the Mets scored 5 runs. Where was everybody talking about the offense then? They didn't hit a home run in opening day. They scored all the way 5 runs on hits and sacrifice flies. They played situational ball. The Mets can win ball games. They won 101 games last year with being in the lower third in home run totals as a team. So they can win ball games. Again, guys, they scored a little less than 5 runs per ball game last year. There's no reason why you can't win 95 games, 96 games with just being that type of team. Not saying that you can't hit home runs, but it's not like the Mets are a team that can't hit home runs. I said this over and over again, guys. Omar Narvaez, you saw on opening day. This guy is going to be a better offensive player than James McCann. It's a huge difference. You saw it on opening day. The Mets offense, again, Buck has got to figure out a way to make a better lineup, put up a better lineup against left-handed pitching. Because what happened yesterday was absolutely ridiculous. I'm sorry. Canna should have been in left field. The DH should have been Escobar. Luis Guillorme should have been at third base. I know Escobar hasn't been looking good, but give him opportunities to play bat right-handed. He didn't look good yesterday. The first 2 games of the season. I get it. But you got Tommy Pham is done. He just looks lost at the plate. To put that lineup yesterday, and Tomas Nido, I know he likes to match up certain pitchers with catchers, but Omar Narvaez had a good game opening day. You can't just take these guys out of the lineup when they had a good game the night before because there's a different pitcher on the mound that they might not be necessarily good at. Give these guys a chance. Listen, sooner or later, the Mets better give Vogelback a chance against a left-hander. See what he can do. Maybe he can run into him. Maybe, he got a great eye at the plate. If he gets a couple of walks against a lefty instead of Tommy Pham striking out or popping up softly, try it. What's the big deal? Vogelback can't be worse than Tommy Pham at this point. Try Vogelback, leave him in the lineup. And I told you guys this again, and it's continuing to be right. Platooning a DH does not work because when a guy looks good at the plate and then the next day there's a lefty on the mound like Vogelback, he's sitting on the bench. That makes no sense. One, you put a cold guy in the game, and a guy who is worse than Vogelback, you put in the game because he's only a right-handed bat against a lefty. You can't rely on praying that you have a chance in the later part of the game to pinch hit Vogelback for a right-handed bat because Vogelback is going to be up against a righty. What happens if we're down by 4 runs? Vogelback's not really going to help at that point. Makes no sense. K2, I agree with you. I don't think Vogelback is that good. But the options other than Vogelback is worse. I'd rather see Vogelback against a lefty, see what he can do. He's got a really good eye at the plate. I'd rather take 2 walks from Vogelback, even if he doesn't get a hit, than 0 for 4 from Tommy Pham, who looks lost at the plate. So I just don't get it. Just 2 games in, I was pissed off about the lineup yesterday. I know there's a lefty on the mound, but you can do other things from 6 through 9, it was a terrible lineup. There was no chance. And you can't have that. Like, the bottom of the order on opening day looked better than it did on game 2. So, and I was talking to the people next to me, and I was talking to the scout as well. Tommy Pham is not going to last long. By the end of this road trip, if he doesn't start hitting, because we're going to be facing a couple of lefties, he's going to get started. If he doesn't get started, the Mets are going to release him, and somebody's going to come up. If that's going to be Vientos, most likely. I think Vientos might get the first nod up here. Vientos can play left field in a pinch. He can do it. It's not like Pham looked great in left field either, but he can do it. But he can be that right-handed bat if you have a lefty on the mound. I feel more comfortable with Vientos than Tommy Pham. And it's annoying, but I forgot. I don't know who's pitching today. Let me just check really quick, guys. We got Cabrera on the mound Edward Cabrera on the mound. This is a guy that throws hard. He's a right-handed batter, so you're going to see the right-handed lineup for sure. He had a 3 ERA last year in 71 innings. He's a guy, he throws hard. So the Mets, Alcantara throws hard, and the Mets didn't have a problem. So, and of course, Tylor Megill on the mound. So Edward Cabrera is on the mound for the Marlins. Yeah, Joel, I agree with you. He looked at his home runs last year, and I agree with that situation. But did Epler look at the fact that Pham played, 120 games last year? He's not going to play that with the Mets. He's getting spot starts. He's not playing every day. So them 17 home runs are probably going to get cut in half by just playing once. He's going to play twice a week, maybe 3 times a week if there's lefties pitching against the Mets. So that stat is irrelevant. But I can't have Tommy Pham have bad at-bats when he gets a chance. That's why a platoon doesn't work. If you're a person that believes that, this is why I didn't like the Vogelback trade and why I didn't like the Ruff trade prior to before Ruff was completely garbage. Platoons don't work. I keep on going back to last year with the Brewer series and the Oakland series. Vogelback played every game in that series. He was 5 for 9 with a home run, 3 RBIs. He was hot as hot can be. Then we went to Oakland right after that. 4 lefties in a row. Darren Ruff played every one of those games. Started when Vogelback was extremely hot. You can't have that happen. That's the problem with the platoon. And the easiest position to fill at this point in time now is supposed to be the DH. There was numerous guys that were free agents last year or in the offseason that can hit righties and lefties. I would have rather went that route. And I think Vogelback should have been one of those guys that is a guy that can, knock one over the fence late in games as a pinch hitter. That's the issue. You cannot have a platoon. It doesn't work. And I say this over and over again. Look at last year. Go back to the Brewers series late in the year. Look what Vogelback did. And then we played Oakland right after that. He didn't start a game. All 4 games because they pitched lefties in each one of those games. The one team that has multiple lefties, a lot of lefties in their rotation, they pitched lefties. Vogelback was on the pine sitting in the dugout. You can't have that. And that was already a month, almost a little more than a month that Ruff has already been struggling with the Mets. You can't have that. And I said that over and over again. And the Mets dink or Epler or whatever it was, I don't have a problem with Vogelback. But the problem that I have with Vogelback is that if the Mets are not going to even give him a chance against a lefty, then this whole platoon is so pointless. It's not like you have a guy that you trust right-handed that can get the job done. You don't have that. But if you slightly trust Vogelback to at least give you good at-bats, but he can't do that against lefties, then what's the point? It just doesn't make sense to me. And I agree with you guys. Brett Beatty, I'm telling you right now, guys, Escobar and Pham are on extremely short leashes. The Mets cannot wait with Escobar. I think they're going to pull the trigger quicker on Tommy Pham than they are on Escobar. I won't be surprised is prior to the West Coast trip, which is right after the homestand, which is about a week away. If Escobar is looking as bad as he is, Brett Brady's going to get the call. And maybe a bullpen arm might actually get off the roster to bring in Brett Beatty because they're not going to DFA Escobar, obviously. So I think Vientos is going to get the first nod. Tommy Pham's not going to be long, guys. I would not be shocked if because I think the Marlins are going to have another righty on the mound tomorrow. Let me see. Okay, so Rogers is pitching. So another lefty tomorrow. Trevor Rogers is pitching tomorrow. So we have another lefty. So Tommy Pham's probably going to get the nod on Sunday. So already Tommy Pham's going to get 2 starts, and now you're going Vogelback, Pham. What if today Vogelback goes 2 for 3 with an RBI? Guess what he's doing on Sunday? He's sitting on his ass for a cold Tommy Pham. It doesn't work, guys. Just doesn't work. So we're getting later in the game. The Mets still can't get anything across. Bottom of the 8 comes. Jazz Chisholm hits a 2-run solo home run off of Curtis. Marlins lead 2-0. Mets don't do really nothing in the 9th until Pete Alonso comes up, hits a solo home run to get the Mets a little bit closer, but no can do. Mets lose 2-1 by a lack of offense. Not bad pitching. Once again, there was good pitching. You give up, 3 runs in game. Well, actually, the bullpen didn't give up nothing in game 1. Game 2, 1 run from the bullpen, 1 run from Peterson. I'm telling you guys, if we can get those games where we can only give up 2 or 3 runs a ball game, the Mets should win a lot of ball games. If the pitching sticks like that, because this pitching wasn't bad. You know what? One mistake is one mistake, right? Peterson, as bad as he was tipping pitches and not throwing a lot of strikes, he was still pitching well, including the bullpen. 1 wrong pitch That could happen to a guy who's pitching great. So 5 runs in 2 ball games is not something to worry about. That's perfectly fine. Because I always say this. If you can keep the runs from 3 or lower against your opponent, you have a good chance of winning. Again, the Mets scored 4.75 runs per ball game last year in 2022. And that was with no offense from DH, no offense from third base, and no offense from catcher. We scored just under 5 runs per ball game last year, with 3 of those positions basically useless with the offense. You get that again, and it's a similar lineup with a little bit more offense from catcher. DH, third base, not right now. So right now, if you get one of those going, the Mets can score 4 to 5 runs per ball game. That should win you ball games. We're going to see what Tylor Megill is going to do today in Game 3. So we're going to get to Game 3 right now and the preview for it. So once again, guys, don't forget to please hit on that like button. If you're new to the channel, what is up? Baseball is in full force. Some are playing in Game 2. Some are going to be playing Game 3 today. So with the Mets, we got Tylor Megill on the mound. Obviously, he is in for Justin Verlander, who is on the IL. He is throwing. I seen him throwing yesterday when I was in the ballpark. He was in the center field throwing very lightly. He wasn't like gunning it to the person catching the ball. But he was throwing, like you just playing catch in the park. He was throwing it like that. It didn't look like he was feeling any discomfort. Again, it's not a full tear of the teres minor ligament. It is basically a very, very, very slight tear of it, but it's something that can be managed, and it's something that shouldn't be too much of an issue going forward. Once again, you got to take it easy with him. It is an odd injury, but a lot more football players have this injury than baseball players. Again, I'm assuming he might have been working out, lifting, and then, went out for his bullpen session, and that's when he felt it. Because that usually it's supposed to be, like it's football injuries. Football players get this injury because they're using more, force with, their upper body, especially their shoulders, their core and everything like that. So, and they're constantly, using the force, somebody pushing him back, you're pushing. So with linemen as well. So, it's just an unfortunate injury. Again, it could have been a lot worse, but you got to, like I said, I don't think he's going to start, and probably not going to get his first start if everything goes well. He'll probably pitch sometime in the West Coast series when the Mets are on a 10-game road trip on the West Coast. So we'll see. Again, the Mets got to score runs. It's just, Joel, I don't think so. I think you're going to see him in probably once the IL stint is over. Sorry guys. I'm going into a suite today with a couple people from the 7 line today. Drinks, food, all included. So I'm just getting all the text messages to see where we're gonna meet prior to the game, because you gotta pregame before you go into the game, right? So I think Verlander, his first start, if you do the math, right, 2 weeks from now, if he just comes off the IL and starts pitching, 2 weeks from now, let me just pull it up really quick for you guys. So remember, he went on the IL on opening day, the 30th. So 2 weeks from now is right in the middle of the West Coast trip, right? Because we come back on Wednesday after the Brewers series, and Thursday's opening day. So that's already a week. So the following week would be the 13th. Which like I said, he's probably going to pitch sometime in the middle or end of the West Coast trip. Well, Joel, were you saying that last year when we are the Mets, when we won 101 ball games? Probably not. Injuries happen. Have you seen the NL East? The NL East basically are the walking wounded. You know what I'm saying? Look at the NL East. Fried went down on opening day. Rhys Hoskins went down at the end of spring training. There's a ton of injuries for every team in the NL East. everybody's struggling. You know, the Braves are playing the Nationals, so who are one of the worst teams in baseball. So they can afford to lose a couple of guys that against those Washington Nationals. So, you know, you could say we are the Mets, but we are the Mets won 101 games last year. You know, if it wasn't the last week of the season, people would have been a lot more hyped than they were going into this year, right? Again, injuries happen. You know, why would anybody be shocked what happened last year with Jacob deGrom when it's happened the last 2 years, right? Scherzer went down, right? Other than that, the Mets stood predominantly healthy for the most part, except for Marte in the end by September. So these injuries happen. Look around the league. There's a lot of bad injuries. Yes, the injuries do happen. Like, look at the NL East. I mean, well, that injury to Verlander, no. But, I mean, what are you going to do with the Edwin Diaz injury, right? I'm not an advocate for the WBC. I don't think major league players should be playing in that. But we can't do nothing about that now, right? Right? The Quintana injury wasn't necessarily a baseball injury. You know, unfortunately, the Quintana thing was more of a serious, possible life-threatening situation that caused the pain and caused something that he can't pitch through. You know, that's more about life more than baseball. So what are you going to do with that, right? And the Verlander thing, again, there's been pitchers that had that injury before, the teres minor injury, but it happens more with the football players. You know, again, it usually doesn't happen with pitchers throwing that particular injury. It's more about lifting weights. I'm assuming prior to his bullpen, he either done his routine weight lift, you know, his little bit of lifting, and when he threw the ball, he probably felt it because he couldn't hurt it. You can't hurt that injury or start that injury by throwing a baseball. It happens when you put a lot of pressure on that ligament, which is, you know, probably bench pressing, maybe some dumbbells where you're doing some type of press where you're lifting something, and that's when you get the tightness over here. You know, if you do a little bit of weightlifting, you feel it over here. Again, when I played baseball, again, not that long ago, I did weightlifting as well, not as a pitcher, but you know, especially when you do bench presses, you feel it obviously here, over here, all that as well. So the Verlander injury was a Met injury. Okay, if you want to believe that, you can, but it's not. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, was the Rhys Hoskins injury a Met injury? That's definitely a Mets injury, right? Can't even catch a ground ball without popping his ACL. I mean, come on. Like, let's be honest. Like, Bryce Harper had Tommy John surgery. He's not a pitcher. Isn't that a Mets injury? I mean, come on. Like, injuries happen. I think you're looking too far into that when the whole NL East is basically injury ridden right now. So, Game 3, keys of the game. Tylor Megill, what is his concern? We talked about this with Peterson. Got to throw strikes. He's got stuff to be in the Mets rotation. Like, I'm not worried about his stuff. If he throws strikes and doesn't walk the ballpark, he should be fine because his stuff is nasty. You know, there's some people that don't like Tylor Megill. I don't think he's great. I don't think what he was early in April last year. But if he can be half that, I think he will be okay. He's got to throw strikes. Again, if you look at the Marlins lineup and the way they hit the first 2 games, they are a team that swings for the fences. Other than Garrett Cooper and Luis Arias, everybody else swings for the fences. You get them off balance, you got a better chance of getting them out than otherwise because they strike out a ton. They don't put the ball in play a lot. They swing for the fences. Again, Luis Arias, Garrett Cooper, 2 guys that put the bat on the ball. Other than that, the other 7 guys in the lineup swing for the fences. So you got to get them off balance. You got to throw strikes. Put pressure on the hitters. It's clearly I'm sorry. The pitching staff, the coaches, they get paid to see this. I'm sorry. If we as fans can see it, let's hope they can see it. These guys are extremely off balance at the plate. Garrett Cooper, Luis Arias. Luis Arias, batting champion. He's going to be a problem. But Joel, that's all we need him to be. We don't need him to be anything other than that. But last year, he was the opening day starter. The first 3 starts of his year last year was excellent. So he's got the stuff. Again, we're looking at it like he's replacing Verlander. If he gives us 5 innings, 1 or 2 runs, you can't complain about that. Like, I just don't understand. Too many people are like, oh, he gave up 2 runs. Well, you know what? You give up 2 runs a ball game, you should win baseball games. I'm sorry. We gave up 3 runs on opening day, and we gave up 2 runs yesterday. We should have won yesterday. We had more than enough opportunities. If it wasn't for great catches, the game would have been completely different. So you give up 3 or 2 runs per ball game, you should be winning those ball games. It's just that simple. The Mets can score 4.5 to 5 runs per ball game. They scored that last year per game. 4.75 runs per ball game. Look it up. You know, for everybody who's going crazy about offense, when you score close to 5 runs per ball game, that's the reason why the Mets won 101 games last year. All right? You have to score that many runs. All right. Sorry, guys. I'm using my hotspot now. Sorry about that. All right, guys. So probably won't last that long, so I'm going to end the stream in just a second. But remember, guys, 3 and 2 runs the Mets gave up. We should have won both of those games. That's where we're at right now. So game 3, Tylor Megill, Edward Cabrera. You're going to see the Mets better line up against right-handed pitching. So with that said, everybody have a great day. Let's go Mets. 4:10 is the game today. Let's see Tylor Megill on the mound. It's a big opportunity for Tylor Megill. Gets another spot in the rotation because of an injury. Let's see if he can make up for it. Again, the bullpen has been absolutely good except for one pitch from Curtis that basically won the Marlins the game yesterday. So with that said, everybody have a great day. Enjoy your Saturday. Drink your coffee. Drink whatever you need to drink when you're watching a Mets game. One more time. Let's go, Mets, guys. See you next time. Let's see if we get that W today. Tylor Megill on the mound. See you next time, guys. Have a good day.
Come on!